Could you tell me 3 words which you associate with Russia?
3 words with Russia? Oh man, communism.
Okay.
Last one, vodka.
Well, there's no question it was a serious crime, selling Canada's military secrets to the Russians.
The open waters could also mean more foreign ships sailing Arctic waters. As long as those ships dock in Canadian ports, they won't threaten Canada's sovereignty, according to this expert.
You do have sovereign control over the vessels coming in. You do have a much greater degree of control over the type of vessels, what rules, regulations they follow.
And it showed, the Russians just walked right over us.
We're the best. I've been telling you the best. How about the guy that used to be on it about 4 or 5 years ago? And those other, the amazing upper body strength of the Russians. So amazing. They're nothing. Just a minute.
No,
They're
sorry.
nothing.
Tournament in Calgary.
N-O-T-H-I-N.
Had a finish touch.
4 or 5 young guys that were standing by the Zamboni entrance in Vancouver yelling that communism is better and all this other stuff. And I almost threw my stick at him like a spear.
Because I'm not Russian. But what I have always tried to do has been to try to understand what it is to be Russian. I don't believe being Russian is quite the mysterious thing that some, like Churchill, have made it out to be. I think Russians are different. I'm Canadian, I'm different. I may not seem so different to you, but I'm different, and Russians seem more different, and maybe they are more different.
3 words, communist.
Okay.
Siberia.
Siberia.
Welcome.
This fight between Canada and the USSR at the World Junior Hockey Championships in 1987 went on so long that they did the only thing they thought might stop it, turning the lights off. And even that didn't work.
They turned the lights off in the arena.
Russian police are trying to track down whoever's responsible for dozens of dog deaths in Moscow.
The 60s are swinging on both sides of the Iron Curtain.
For the communists, this was psychological warfare.
Spinmeisters pit a woman in orbit against a man on the moon.
Back then was the communists.
Okay, back then.
And now it's democracy, but mixed up with a little, sorry to say, by a little corruption.
What ended up being this country's defining hockey moment hardly started out that way.
At the time, it was supposed to be exhibition, but it turned out all with such seriousness.
The feelings of goodwill and sportsmanship quickly vanished.
This after the Russian strongman decided last September to try and reclaim the presidency currently held by Dmitry Medvedev.
We looked at each other here in the studio. I couldn't believe the Russians were fighting back.
Oh, I like that. That was good. I'm surprised that it really hasn't happened before in international hockey.
The only way to beat these guys is to try to scare the hell out of them and intimidate them. Be crazy. Be lunatics.
Leader of a G8 country boards a government aircraft in his nation's capital. He flies 12 hours to Vladivostok, Russia. Once there, he enters a hotel room. He orders his Minister of International Trade to sign a secret agreement with the Chinese government. This agreement will not be debated or voted on in Parliament. It will be ratified by Cabinet, once again in secret. So, is this a scene from the latest Bond movie?
Well, there was communist oppression, lack of freedom.
Lack of freedom. Okay, how about Canada? 3 words.
We got all that. Same thing, but reverse.
As Vladimir Putin returns to power, a revealing look back at the relationship between Russia and the West.
Because of my age and so on, I never had the opportunity to represent this country in the Great Wars, but as Phil Esposito said, this was war.
A walk in the park is now a risky gamble for Moscow dog owners.
Insiders revealed just how close the U.S. and Russia came to war.
But expectations are low in a country where cruelty to animals is common.
And how 2 young new leaders almost turned the tide against Putin's powerful political influence.
No previous treaty between our countries has ever been directly negotiated by our presidents.
Well, I would have thought security would be a lot more solid.
As the defense lawyer in an unprecedented spy case, Mike Taylor has come to a pointed conclusion about security within the Department of National Defense. He compares it to Swiss cheese.
This year also marks the 40th anniversary of another watershed moment in hockey history, the Canada-Russia Summit Series.
And with little confidence in authorities, Moscow's dog owners have set up their own vigilante patrols.
In the end, the Canadians lost to Russia 5-3. However, fans still went home optimistic, saying next time we will get the championship.
A group of thugs attacked supporters of Russia's national soccer team. The brawl is exactly what organizers of the Euro 2012 soccer tournament had feared. And as Mike Delay reports, the anger may be fueled by history.
I blame the Russians. Naturally, anybody with any mind would blame the Russians. It definitely wasn't Bert Templeton's fault at all, because what are you supposed to do? See 20 Russians going to go at 5 Canadians. I'd like to ask Michael right here and now, if his son was one of the 5 and he was being beaten up by the Russians, would he say, stay on the bench, let my son be beat up? I think not.
First of all, I want to lay to rest the canard that there were 20 Russians. According to stories that I've seen, 4 Russians had gone over the boards before the first Canadian, so it was not a 20-5 disadvantage.
And no one misses the Canadians more than the Soviets. Izvestia, the state newspaper, decries the lack of a decent rival.
The Soviets have grown tired of defeating other nations year after year at the Izvestia tournament, the World Hockey Championships, and the Olympic Games. We want a new challenge and stronger competition.
Transferring it to a memory stick and turning it over to the Russians for about $3,000 a month, although he told investigators he did it for ideological reasons. Delisle is the first person to be convicted under the Security of Information Act, passed by the House of Commons after the 9/11 terrorist attacks.
Why do we consider it serious? It's actually liable for life, so it's the longest sentence you can have. So you can see that objectively how serious this country considers these charges.
Delisle's lawyer downplays the danger to national security.
The information that's leaked in no way at any point jeopardized the lives or safety of any of the men and women operating with the Canadian Armed Forces.
Canada received 31 penalty minutes in Game 6, Russia only 4.
It was the Russians' fault all the way. He sent the 2 players on there. He opened the gate. You get out there, and it's not our Canadian way to see our guys laying on the ice.
You know, I used to get really upset when I told people where I came from down in Los Angeles, because I always got the same response. Canada? Wow! Must have been cold. Now I just go along with them.
Yes, Canada. It was a frozen, hostile wasteland. And there was much work to be done if we were to survive the elements. After boring a hole through the ice to find food, my good friend Nantuk and I would build an igloo to protect ourselves from polar bears and flying hockey pucks. Then we would drink a lot of beer. And when Nantuk was ready, he would tell me the story of the great moose who said to the little squirrel, "Hey, Rocky, watch me pull a rabbit out of my hat."
How about United States?
United States, warmongers, homeless people, false democracy.
We had to win at all costs, no matter what. War is war.